Hi everyone, my name is Tawhid, and in today's video I will be talking about the introduction to sociological reasonings about crime. You might be wondering, what does that even mean? I was confused at first as well. In previous week's presentations and lectures, we learned about non-sociological reasonings behind crime. However, criminologists need to assess and look at a situation further than just biology and the non-sociological parts. Hence why we will be talking about sociological reasonings, which include social and economic class, gender, age, and religion. And there are also other theories that criminologists go to, including strain and enemy theory, control theory, and labeling theory. But there are also a few more, which we'll be talking about in later slides. And if you're still confused, sociological reasoning, the word sociological comes from the word sociology, which is the study of social interactions, relationships, and the overall sciences behind society. The article I have selected today is from the Globe and Mail Canada, and the title is Police Across Canada Report 7% Rise in Hate Crimes in 2019, which was written by Mike Haget and was published December 1st of 2020. Here are some excerpts from the article, but the full URL will be posted in the description of this video if you wanted to check it out for yourself. A quote that I personally found very interesting in this article was said by Dr. Perry, the Director of Hate, Bias, and Extremism at Ontario Institute of Technology. The quote states, "Gay people are seen as race traitors. They are not reproducing, therefore they are the enemies." Dr. Perry perfectly captures how close-minded certain elitist and extremist groups are, and how that mindset that they carry is the reason why hate crimes are still so high globally. We are now in February 2021, and so much progression has taken place for the LGBTQ+ community and other minorities. However, there has been a lot of progression. There also has been quite a bit of, backward steps, and we'll discuss why of those sociological reasonings in further slides. Here is a quote from the article, which was reported by Statistics Canada in 2020. Attacks against people for their sexual orientation rose by 40% last year, which statistically proves that people have sociological reasonings for their hate crimes, which is absolutely sad. The government and police system believe that hate crimes will only skyrocket due to the mass sociological shift in the mindset of the public. I have 3 examples for this. The first being the Black Lives Matter movement. It was truly eye-opening and inspirational seeing people of all races and ethnicities come together to clearly call out the unnecessary killings and blatant racism that was going on, that is still going on to Black people in this day and age. And of course, with all that positivity, there had to be another side to it, which was the negativity. And simply the white supremacists who believe that all lives matter, but are still blatantly racist and still hate on people of color and Black people. So again, with more support came more negativity. Next is the Kisan Lives Matter, also known as the Farmers Lives Matter, mainly happening in India and in specifically Punjab. Their president Modi was paying and is still paying farmers little to no money for their hard work of cultivating crops and taking care of livestock, which is a very hard-working job. And that's some of the reasons why we have food today, because of farmers. So similar to Black Lives Matter, people of color are involved and people of the color are victimized in this situation. We are lucky to live in such a multicultural society. However, that could also lead to a downfall for us, where people will only support things that only happen to them. So people in Canada are not really talking about Kisan Lives Matter or the Farmer Lives Matter in India because it's not directly affecting them, which eventually is going to lead to disunity in humankind and just humanity in general. And lastly, the COVID-19 pandemic. The hate crimes towards East Asians, specifically those of Chinese descent, hate crimes have increased drastically. Mike Haget talks about in the article about how hate crimes towards Chinese and East Asian people have risen in Vancouver, specifically more than any place in Canada, which is absolutely sad and disgusting. Sociological reasonings are the primary motive that are driving crimes globally, whether it's race, gender, sexuality, or socioeconomic class, that basically determines the severity of the crime and the hate crime in general. A quote from the article reported by Statistics Canada states, almost half the hate crimes from the last year targeted people for their race or ethnicity, followed closely by their religious background, which statistically proves hate crimes with sociological intent. I just wanted to take a quick second just to say that there are a few links in the description of this video which will lead you to educational sites for Black Lives Matter, the humanitarian crisis in Yemen, the Muslim concentration camps in China. It's very sad seeing what's happening around the world, and we are privileged to have such a great life here in Canada. Just taking a few minutes out of our day to help sign petitions or even donate a few dollars to those around the world would be so helpful. So if you guys can just take the time to do that, it'd be great, maybe after this presentation. All right, next we'll be talking about how area and environment affects crime rates. So different areas withhold different abundance of socioeconomic statuses and sociological factors. So in the article, according to Statistics Canada, 3/4 of all reported hate crimes took place in 8 major cities across Canada. They include Calgary, Edmonton, Hamilton, Montreal, Ottawa, Quebec City, Toronto, and Vancouver. Looking at the map, Ontario has 3 major cities with very significant amount of hate crimes. I definitely will not be moving there. Criminologists will ask themselves, why does Ontario have this many? Why does Vancouver have this many? Well, they ask themselves questions like, does that specific city have a higher poverty rate? What is the dominant culture or religion in that certain city? Economically and politically, how is that city run? And they ask questions that relate to sociological and environmental factors that affect crime. I also just wanted to touch briefly on unreported crime. What you saw on the last slide was all reported crimes that Statistics Canada collected. However, unreported crimes are drastically way more than what are reported. As you can see on the screen, out of every 1,000 sexual assaults, 999 perpetrators will walk free. That is absolutely disgusting. So there are many reasons why people do not report crimes, but I will not be talking about it in this video, unfortunately. Next, we'll be talking about the different theories involved with sociological reasoning and a quick overview of how they connect with the article. Strain and enemy theory was explained by Durkheim when analyzing suicide. Durkheim brings up subculture, which in our textbook, it defines it as subculture forms in reaction to problems the members experience in relating to dominant culture. So an example could be living in South Surrey, where gang activity is very high. Following that dangerous subculture would lead to substantial deviant and criminal growth in that area, and then statistically would raise that area's crime rate. So relating to the article, we'll use Ontario as an example. The hate crime numbers there are very high. Perhaps the subculture there was very delinquent-like and was formed there. So from there on, it was passed on and just now a subculture there of delinquency. Next, we'll be talking about control theory, which in simple terms, it's about rule bending and commitments. So to sum it up, basically, control theory is the stronger one person has to their society, the less likely they are to commit a criminal activity. So whether that bond is to social institutions, conventional systems, education, or even kinship and family relations. Control theory refers to how much control society has over criminal activity. Much like control theory, differential association theory relies much on the surroundings and how the surroundings can affect crime rates. So differential association theory consists of how environment influences individuals to pursue crime. So much like our previous slide referring to the major cities, environment deals with a great value of deviancy. So Toronto's environment is definitely different from Vancouver's environment, hence why Toronto may have a higher crime rate than Vancouver. The final theory is quite a large one, which is labeling theory. In a short explanation, labeling theory is when individuals are essentially labeled or withhold a certain negative title, which promotes criminal activity and which will lead to even more negative criminality. The last point I'll be talking about is feminism and how simply one person's gender and sex can cause such an uproar in hate crimes globally. So cis women, trans women, non-binary people definitely have it much harder due to the obvious and blatant sexism that still lingers in this world. Though Hajay doesn't discuss it in the article, I feel like it's very important to bring it up. Lastly, I want to bring up a quote that was brought up in the article, which was said by Dr. Wells, who is a professor at McEwen University and a Canada Chair Research for the Public Understanding of Sexual and Gender Minority Youth. The quote states, "The value of collecting these statistics is we get a snapshot from a particular point in time about what's happening in our communities. But the real important follow-up question is, what do we do about it?" Which is so true. What are we gonna do about bringing hate to an extinction and bringing crime in general to an extinction? All right, so my discussion questions are, why do you think a place like Hamilton, Ontario has reported such high crime rates for 2 consecutive years? And why do you think a place like Yellowknife, Northwest Territories has such a reduced rate? My second question is, ever since the Black Lives Matter movement amplified in about April or May of 2020, do you believe hate crimes towards the Black community and people of color will see a drop in the coming years? And if you do, how so? And in your opinion, of socioeconomic class, gender, age, or culture or religion, which do you believe will lessen to obsolescence first? So what do you believe will become extinct first? And how do you believe the world would go about getting there? So what do you think you would do? What do you think society would do to bring that specific crime to an extinction? And here are my references. And thank you for watching. See you later.